In the first edition of the Snake River Rivalry between Boise State University and Washington State University, future Pac-12 rivals, Boise State University was able to take down the Cougs 45-24 in Boise. And if you're watching the game late in the fourth quarter, then you heard the play-by-play commentator give a shout out to the Couch GM and Dylan Howe for calling this the Snake River Rivalry. This is where he heard it first, was watching our podcast preview this last week.
This should turn into the Snake River Rivalry. Right here, you heard it first.
I do have to give a shout out to the podcast, the Couch GM Pod. That's where I first heard this Snake River Rivalry. A lot of other people are running with it.
No, it's yours. I've never heard of those guys.
Oh, good guys. Got a lot of good information on Boise State, Washington State, and this rivalry.
I wasn't able to find the play-by-play's name, but then Petros threw some shade our way saying that he's never heard of us. Well, Petros, make sure to like and subscribe and watch out for our next episode. But with that, let's get into the recap. Ashton Jeanty, oh my word. He deserves all the headlines, all the praise that he's getting. He's going to be on that stage later this year in New York. The guy is absolutely ridiculous. He was coming into this game against Washington State, averaging just under 200 yards per game, averaging 3 rushing touchdowns per game. In this game, 26 carries, 259 rushing yards, an average of 10 per carry, 4 total touchdowns with a 64-yard long. He had 2 rushing touchdowns over 50 yards. That first one was a 64-yard touchdown run on just the 5th play of the game. His 59-yard touchdown run early in the fourth quarter helped seal the deal for Boise. There were certain pockets to where the Cougs were able to contain Jeanty, but the second you try to tackle him high, the second you allow him to bounce around the outside, he's breaking a tackle or 5, and he is gone. But Boise, when you have a weapon like Ashton Jeanty, a wrecking ball of knives, as Chuck Pagano says.
I mean, this guy is a rolling ball of butcher knives, as we like to say. I mean,
he was getting comparisons on the broadcast with his stature and running style at 5'9", 215 to Maurice Jones-Drew. They also stated on the broadcast that he squats over 600 pounds. In the Cougs' first game, they had stated that John Mateer squats 600 pounds. It came out after the fact that he does not squat 600. If any of you Boise fans know if Ashton Jeanty actually squats 600, please comment below. You just feed him the rock enough times to where the defense has to put all of their pressure on him, and then you got your play action game wide open. And that is exactly what happened as quarterback Maddox Madsen was able to hit Matt Lauder 4 times for 96 yards, averaging 24 per catch. He had 2 touchdowns, and his long was a 34-yard receiving touchdown. And look at this play again. On 4th and 1, they go play action pass. There are 11 defenders that are going after Ashton Jeanty, leaving the left side of the field wide open. But then again, this game was already out of hand at this point. And ultimately, Boise was just the better team across the board. They were able to really contain Mateer after that first quarter. John Mateer was able to break away for some design quarterback runs. He also scrambled out of the pocket a little bit. But really, from the second quarter on, they were able to contain Mateer. They sacked him 7 times for a total of 67 yards throughout this game. They added a QB spy at some point in this game, and they were blitzing often on the edges, which didn't give Mateer any time to try to look downfield or to break away. There was a few big offensive miscues for the Cougs that cost them this game. Late in the first half, the Cougs are driving down the field just before halftime, looking to tie up the game. They're down by 7. John Mateer was hitting some passes, but then he throws one over the middle that is directly to a Boise State defender. Boise takes the knee and ends the first half. Then in the third quarter, with 2:20 left on the clock, the Cougs are down 7 points at this point. It's 17-10. It's 4th and 1 on WSU's own 27-yard line. There's 2:20 left in the third quarter. They're down just by a touchdown at this point in the game, 17-10. Jake Dickert decides to go for it, do a QB sneak. John Mateer gets absolutely stuffed, and it's a turnover on down for Boise State at Washington State's 27. It took just 3 plays for Boise State to get into the end zone to put this game at 24-10. I understand that Jake Dickert said that over the past 2.5 years, whenever it's been 4th and 1, they've gone for it, but in this position, at this point in the game, on this field position, you just punt the ball. I understand it's later in the third quarter, the defense is probably getting tired, and they're thinking if we give the ball back to the Broncos and Jeanty, they're just going to run it out and they're going to score another touchdown, run down the clock as well. But then after getting the ball back from the Broncos, Washington State is able to drive down the field 6 plays for 75 yards over just a minute and a half to again draw the game within a touchdown. It was on Boise's next drive that they continued to hand the ball to Jeanty. He had rushes of 9 yards, 7 yards, and then he broke it outside for a 59-yard touchdown. Boise then continued to unleash the blitz. They sacked Mateer twice, with this last one being a borderline safety. And Boise's next drive started with rushes from Jeanty for 19 yards, for 6 yards, at which point the Cougs started getting called for unsportsmanlike conducts. and this drive was capped off by Jeanty running it in for a 2-yard touchdown, putting Boise up 38-17. For both Wazoo and Boise, this was their biggest game left on the schedule. Now, both of them the rest of the year will have a largely Mountain West Conference schedule. Both of them will play Oregon State later in the year. And at least for Boise State, their college football playoff hopes are alive and well. And if they can keep Ashton Jeanty healthy for the remainder of the season, he is going to have a special year. For Boise State, that October 25th matchup at UNLV will be a big one. And for Washington State, we'll have to see how they can rebound and if they can get their defense in check. Against Boise, they gave up 45 points. Against San Jose State, they gave up 52. They have a bye this next week, and then the following week, they will be at Fresno State in another future Pac-12 matchup. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this matchup, on Boise State's future, on Washington State's future the rest of this year. For more content like this, make sure to like and subscribe to the Couch GM. We'll see you on the next one, and go Cougs.